January 1st, 2024. Um, Pretty uneventful New Year's. Stayed home, reflected, thought about my plans for the upcoming year. Um, yeah, a lot to think about. A lot of goals, but the primary goal is related to wealth. So as I'm getting up in age, getting closer to the big 4-0, starting to think about what I have to offer, what I have to bring to the table for me and my family, friends, and just in terms of my future, um, how I plan to move forward. So, going to be making some changes this year, big changes. Hopefully, it can be impactful. I can impact the people around me. I can live a better life, um, make a difference the way that I believe I'm meant to, instead of the way I've had to live, feel I've had to live over the last 13 years. Um, I'm an ESL teacher, so for those of you who don't know, that's um, a teacher of English for speakers of other languages. Um, their native tongue, not English. And that's what I've been specializing in the last 13 years. So that sounds interesting, maybe to some of you, but it's a job that has both benefits and drawbacks, like every job, obviously. But many people sometimes they hear, "Wow, ESL teacher, you teach English overseas. That must be amazing." Some things are amazing. The experiences, the the freshness, the newness of different experiences. Those things are amazing. It's amazing to interact with new cultures, new languages, new people, different mindsets, different perspectives. See the world through a different lens. To learn more about really the world around you, not to be stuck in a box and confined to your own society, your own community. There are many amazing things related to living and working abroad. Now, in terms of working in general, I'm just kind of tired of working for companies, for schools, whatever. Um, there are a lot of undesirable things that go along with work. Um, Being at the mercy of a company, being at the mercy of a school, your bosses or whatever, it's just not an attractive thing for me. And I've been finding that out over the last several years, and moving from different jobs in different countries. Um, there are always going to be issues wherever you teach, wherever you work. There are going to be things that you just don't like, things that you just have to put up with because you are working for someone. So that's a lot of what I've been reflecting on over the last few years, and um, in particular on this first day of the year, January 1st. Um, I'm in China at the moment. I've worked in 4 different countries as a teacher, and I think China will be my final destination. And then, yeah, I hope to be moving on to something different. But started off as a teacher in South Korea back in 2009. Worked for about 4.5 years in South Korea. 2 years at an elementary school, which was great. Um, it's very, very good experience to start. But the pay for teachers isn't great. So at the time, I guess I was leaving the U.S. because of the global stock market crash and the way that it seemed like the way it seemed like the government was handling that situation. It wasn't desirable. My company I was working for back in the U.S. was being affected. Um, people getting fired left and right, and I just didn't feel like being a part of the corporate environment any longer. So I left the U.S. at that time. I think Barack Obama had just become president. Maybe it had been a year in, and came to South Korea, or went to South Korea for the first 4 years of my English teaching career. Yeah, so 2 years at the elementary school where the pay was just, not great, but the experience was wonderful. And then I did 2 years at a university. I was lucky to get in at a university job that was hiring kind of right at the last minute. And I was starting to study for my master's degree when I got that job. And so I was able to show my coursework up to that point. And so I had some credits through a program I had completed um, in Korea while I was there. So that helped me get into the university. Once I got into the university job, I decided to study a master's in ESL, a TESOL actually, TESOL. And again, another good experience, but put me further in debt from my student loans back in the U.S. Um, However, the university job paid more, so I was able to kind of pay for the course as I went. Well, kind of, I was putting it on my credit card. Unfortunately, it's kind of in the end was a mistake, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody putting your education on your credit cards. So yeah, I finished that master's though several years after several years, and by that time I was in Japan. So I moved to Japan in 2013. Um, Started working for university there for a few months. It's just a limited contract program, 3 months at a time. I did that, but I wanted to stay in Japan. I thought the contract was too short. I ended up getting a different visa, then getting several other jobs. And with the visa I had, I was able to work in multiple jobs for the remainder of my time in Japan. It was about 3.5 years total. 3 years working different jobs at once with the visa that I had. Um, at one point, I was working 7 days a week on this freelance visa, so I was allowed to work as many jobs as I wanted. About 7 days a week to just to make ends meet, right? I did that maybe for several months. I worked, or maybe I don't really quite remember, but I worked 7 days a week at one point. Um, some weekends, almost being life was being driven crazy, but I would work. I would go out the night after I worked. And in the morning, I would go to work. Um, Sometimes straight to work from being out at night. Crazy times. But yeah, that's what it was at the time. Kind of working like to some degree like a Japanese businessman. Some of the businessmen, they call them salarymen. Some of them work continuously. Some of them sleep at the office or sleep at their computer desk, and are highly devoted to the work. So I kind of felt like that for a few months. For the rest of my time in Japan, I worked 6 days a week. So there was no time where I worked a regular shift. I needed the money. I needed to continue to pay off the student loans and pay for the master's. So yeah, that's how I was living and working. Japan's great. Korea was great. Learned a lot of language in both, a lot of culture. I made a lot of friends. Um, At times I enjoyed the work, but what I really value and enjoy is the experiences, meeting people, food, culture. However, I find that in both these places, my work highly influences my personal growth, my own satisfaction. That probably goes for everybody or most people. Um, those things inhibit. I feel like work inhibited my growth. Work, you know, led to kind of emotional, maybe mental issues. Always being stressed about money. It's a terrible way to live, and that's how I felt. Um, I felt like I needed to work more to make more money, but then I had no time, and my body suffered. So I feel tired all the time because of work, and then you know, as a result, as well, not being able to foster meaningful relationships. Um, I felt like that played a large role in my overall experience. So yeah, after 3.5 years, I got an opportunity at the end of my time in Japan and a chance to work in the UAE. And before I went to Japan, I had thought about working in China and working in Saudi Arabia. I had some opportunities, but I wasn't sure about them. I passed on them. So I went to Japan. I had a friend there. He's still there, married to a Japanese woman and has a beautiful family. So I chose Japan at the time, but I had some opportunities elsewhere. Um, but when the UAE job came around, I thought it was too good to be true. Uh, One of the highest salaries that you could find as an English teacher anywhere in the world. The UAE seemed like an interesting place. I didn't know much about it. Just heard of Dubai, heard of Abu Dhabi. Didn't know anything else. Muslim country, obviously. I knew that. Um, so I was curious. I try to go everywhere with a completely open mind, blank slate. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I did. I just went. I got the job. I actually went to the job interview from Japan, from Tokyo, Japan. I went to Manchester, England. Did my job interview there during the winter. I remember um, being in downtown Manchester, um, going to the Christmas markets, seeing the choirs singing in front of the churches at night. I had some hot wine, some good food down there in the Christmas market. It was a good memory. I was all alone, um, which I often am on these travels, obviously, working or living alone, unmarried, single dude. So it is what it is. But I went all the way there for my interview, passed the interview, luckily, because I was so tired. I did the interview the same day I arrived, and I took a flight back the very next day. So I stayed one night, took a flight back the next morning. I was jet lagged, crazy, but I passed. Then I was stuck in Tokyo for a few months. Got back to Tokyo, I was stuck there. Quit my jobs because I was just getting ready to go to the UAE to work. But there was a huge delay. It seems to be a lot of delays when it comes to getting a visa for the UAE. And I had to get a new passport. My passport was almost expired. So I was in Tokyo. I had to go to the embassy. I had to get a new passport. I had to get a temporary passport just to get the visa to get into the UAE. And then once I got to the UAE, I had to apply for a brand new passport. And that's the same passport that I have now. So that was 2017. Passport's good for 10 years. So it's 2024. That passport should be good for 3 more years. In fact, I should make sure, I should check that right now. It's something I gotta keep on my mind. So yeah, let's see. Yep, 2027, November. And that's when I got my new passport in the UAE. It must have been, wow, it must have been November 2017 that I got that new passport. Yeah, and I went to the UAE. What was it? January 2017. It was maybe early winter or spring 2017 when I got to the UAE. So I got to Dubai. Wow, crazy. I mean, go from South Korea to Japan to the UAE. Yep, so I ended up there. Um, I had a great orientation. We arrived in Abu Dhabi, flew business class from Tokyo to Abu Dhabi. Wonderful flight. I was using Etihad Airways. Highly recommended. Most comfortable flight I've ever had in my life. Well, I was business class too, so paid the extra to get there because my luggage is too heavy. I keep my whole life in two luggage bags, and that's how I travel. That's how I live. I'm a minimalist just by necessity, not because I want to be necessarily. I kind of do. I don't like a lot of stuff, I guess, but I don't travel with a lot of stuff. I travel light. So yeah, went to the UAE. Had a great orientation. They put us up in a five-star hotel, two five-star hotels. So they tried to make a really good impression, which they did. So we thought, wow, are we in heaven? This is a dream job. That's what we thought. And yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but um, I ended up at a high school where, uh, yeah, I had an interesting experience. Um, it was not exactly what I had expected, but I was there. It was kind of the end of the year in the UAE when I arrived, so a few more months, and the boys that I were at the high school would be graduated. So they were pretty laid back. They were cool with me. Um, you know, they kind of treated me like I was one of them. I mean, I looked young, I guess, and a lot of them um, kind of looked like me, to be honest. And so they were excited to see me there, and they were dapping me up, saying what's up, nice to meet you, all this cool stuff. Boys were good, but they didn't really care that much about school, I guess. They were getting ready to graduate, and a lot of them were going to be entering police academy. So that was what it was. But yeah, I ended up staying there just for a short while, and then I was moved to a middle school further out, beyond past Dubai. So um, yeah, there's a few different provinces in the UAE. If you guys research it or if you ever visit, I ended up living in Ras Al Khaimah outside of Dubai, about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Um, some of the other fellow teachers I knew were there, so I went there, and then I ended up teaching at a middle school, so younger than the high school boys. Middle school, I ended up staying at the middle school for about 2 years, 2 full years. I did a full 2 year contract at the middle school, and that was in Fujairah. So um, yeah, and that was 45 minutes from the place where I moved. So I moved from Dubai to Ras Al Khaimah, which is 45 minutes from Dubai. And then I worked in Fujairah, which is about another 30 to 45-minute drive from Fujairah. So I carpooled some of my colleagues who lived in Ras Al Khaimah and worked in the same school that I did. So I was lucky to find that situation. We carpooled daily, took turns driving. So we had about two cars where we did that. 4 or 5 members, 4 or 5 of us would carpool in two different cars. So it was a good experience. You know, just with the colleagues and going through that whole situation, driving through the desert every morning, every afternoon. Beautiful scenery, unlike anything you could imagine. Just camels everywhere, beautiful red sand deserts. It was like some of it so much like a dream. I remember a flash flood happening. Um, like it seemed like the UAE government started to seed the clouds in the country. It seemed like something like that was going on. The desert was starting to turn green. Beautiful. But there was a flash flood once. Maybe I don't know what happened, but driving through the mountains and just torrents of rain. It was crazy. It was a really wild experience to see that much water and rain in the desert, and then to see the rivers overflowing through the mountains. Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, great experience in the UAE. I highly recommend anybody to get the chance to visit because it is a beautiful country. And as a tourist, you're gonna love it pretty much. Uh, so many amenities, so much luxury. It's comfortable, nice to get around. It's affordable, so highly recommend that. For work, it depends on what your field is, what your specialty is. I know they have a lot of high-paying, specialized positions for technical jobs, engineers, doctors, specialists. If that's what you're into, if that's what kind of career you have, then the UAE is highly recommended. As a teacher, mixed results, I would say, mixed experiences. So talk to others and see what kind of schools um, they have, what kind of positions they have available, and then see if that suits you. But yeah, teachers mixed results. Other high-paying jobs, I think I would recommend if you're a specialist. Great place to live, and probably great place to work in other fields besides teaching. Yeah, so 2.5 years in the UAE, and for various reasons, I ended up deciding to go back and work in Korea. So that's what I did. At the end of 2019, I got a job working for an English school related to a big corporate company in Korea. And this time I would be teaching adults strictly. So I had taught corporate adults in Japan, one of my many jobs while I was there, robot company, which is real cool, engineers. I did that part time. I taught adults at private language schools as well, adult schools called Eikaiwa. I did that in Japan. So I had a lot of experience with adults in Japan. And then I had experience with university students in both Japan and Korea. So I had experience with older students. So I got the job in Korea to teach corporate adults um, who were all employees at a major company in Korea. I'm not going to say the name, but huge company, maybe the biggest company in Korea. Um, and I stayed there for almost 4 years, through the COVID years, um, through to the end of 2023. Actually, I left November 2023, so I almost completed a full 4 years. A few more months, it would have been 4 years exactly. But yeah, I got worn out at that job because it's nonstop. It's just a position that's continuously going. There's no, since it's a corporate job, basically corporate teaching, there's no vacation built into the contract. Um, it's a little sketchy. There's not really paid time off. It's hard to explain, but you only get the high pay, the high salary if you teach a class. So even if you take your vacation days, you don't get paid the same as someone who actually taught that class. So that was tough. I was coming from school jobs or other jobs where, you know, I often had time off to travel, to see my family, things like that. But this job was just I had to keep working, and the hours stressed me out, and then the fluctuating salary based on how many hours you taught, quite difficult to manage, and to there's no, you know, to understanding that you didn't have any real control over your job, over your lifestyle, over your salary. There would be times when classes would be canceled or the the major company would dictate how many classes, how many hours we could teach, and that dictates my salary. That controls my salary every month. I'm still trying to pay off student loans, still trying to pay off, credit cards that I put my education on. So over time, I just had enough. I knew it was time to go. I wanted to get back into a school where I could teach, um, so that I could have the built-in vacations, so that I could have more time to myself, um, more time than I needed to progress and to move forward. So a school job fits that perfectly, obviously. Um, I'm back in the middle school. I left Korea and moved to China. So as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm in China now. Shanghai, outside of Shanghai, it's West Shanghai, so it's still considered Shanghai, but it's quite far from the city center. Um, yeah, my first impression of the school here. Let me start with the impression of the people in Shanghai. Um, I I really just had a good experience with the people here. And then my first day, the first few weeks. Obviously, I don't speak any Chinese, but the people are very caring and helpful. They're trying their best to help me. I really need to learn Chinese. I feel like I feel bad. I kind of feel bad being, um, not being able to communicate and people just smiling, being helpful, being nice. That makes me want to learn the language even more. You know, kind of the same experience I had in China, in Korea, the same experience I had in Japan. People are so helpful. People are so nice from the beginning. It makes me want to learn the language. And the UAE as well. But it's just that the UAE, everybody speaks English. Almost everybody speaks English in the UAE. So you don't really think about it there. It's a very international place. But Korea and Japan and China, um, yeah, you can have mixed results in terms of communication. So China, I had a situation with a taxi driver where my phone was dying. I couldn't pay for the taxi. He was very patient. He helped me out. In the end, I was able to pay him. I paid him extra to get me to my destination because he was so patient with me, and he just kept a smile the whole time. He didn't get frustrated, which is great. And then same thing at the hotel I was staying at for a few days. I couldn't pay for a while until, it was the same night, but I was waiting for several hours. I had to call my bank back in the US to unlock my card and all this stuff. And the hotel concierge, they were just very patient with me, try to let me use the phone charger, charge my phone, give me some advice on how to connect with apps and Alipay and WeChat and all that stuff so that I could pay for the hotel. Eventually, I was able to pay for the hotel after several hours sitting there charging my phone, trying to get in contact with my bank, call my bank from China using a virtual number, luckily that I have. Crazy. Yeah, if you ever go to China, take cash. Um, I think that's going to be your best bet. But nowadays they're using these apps, Alipay and WeChat, which are linked to your bank account. You can link it to your US account, but you're going to have limited access to your money, to your funds in your US account. I can't speak for other countries, but I had a Korea card and I had a US card. I have US cards, and it was difficult to access my money from Korea and also from the US. Eventually, I was able to, but there's still daily limits of how much you can use. So, I recommend making sure that you take cash when you go to China. Oh yeah, so the school is great. The kids are great here in China, middle school. They're so energetic. There's so much energy in middle school kids, and they're huge. They're big. Kids are getting bigger, they're bigger than in my generation. But they're great. No, they're just lovely human beings. So I like them a lot. The school is immaculate. It's huge. They have so many resources, so much money to give these kids a good education. And so I'm trying my best to make the most of this experience, learn from it, and yeah, hopefully this will be a good year, and I'm able to give a lot to these kids. Yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. As I said, though, this will probably be my last teaching job. Um I'm looking forward to doing other things and having a different kind of life moving forward, where I have more freedom, more time, doing something more meaningful for myself and helping others others around me, my close friends, my family, being closer to them, and then being able to take in more, um, just more experiences around the world. I hope I can travel and see more, be more, do more, and grow more in the coming year. So yeah, yep, that's my first video. Thank you guys for watching. Whoever watches this. But yeah, happy New Year 2024. Let it be a good one. Stay blessed, everybody. Peace.